If you are learning to drive and are going to take a driving test in Lichfield, you may already have heard about the Bowling Green Roundabout. Because of its proximity to the test centre, it is very likely that your test route will include this roundabout at least once. It looks a little unusual compared to most roundabouts because it has a pub and car park in the centre, and for some it has a reputation for being difficult, but we really don't think it needs this reputation. In this video, we are going to take an extensive look at every possible combination of entrance and exit. We'll show you how by listening to the directions given by your examiner, instructor, or sat-nav, and by taking the correct information on the approach, you can take all the stress out of this roundabout. We'll help you to find useful information from road signs and road markings and plan ahead to make it easy. Techniques that can be used on any similar type of roundabout in the UK.
As you watch the video, you will notice that we highlight any relevant signs as we pass them and leave them on screen until they are no longer useful. Because we will be approaching each entrance more than once, we might not highlight everything every time so that we don't interrupt the flow any more than necessary. We will also show you when we used our indicators, but remember that indicators should be used to convey a particular message for the situation at the time, so we would encourage you to think about this and not just copy us if your situation is different.
If you find our videos useful, please give us a like and subscribe so that you don't miss future videos. We want to help as many learners and new drivers as possible, so please share and let us know if there is a particular video that you would like us to make. We will be making more whenever time allows us to.
In this first example, we are approaching the roundabout along the Western Bypass. If you know Lichfield, you may recognise this as the road that goes from the Hedgehog pub to the Bowling Green. We're going to imagine that we've been asked to go right on the roundabout, taking the third exit.
This sign gives us our first look at the layout of the roundabout. We can see that the first exit, to the left, is signposted for the city centre. Later on we will see city centre marked on the road surface to help direct road users into the correct lane. Next on the sign we can see a no entry sign. As we are not allowed to take that road off the roundabout, we are not counting it as an exit, so the second available exit is for Birmingham, Burton, Tamworth and Walsall. We describe this as a head, because it is opposite our entry point onto the roundabout. As we get closer, we will see Tamworth and Walsall marked on the road. The third exit is shown on this sign as a small stump. It doesn't show a destination. This is usually done to show an exit road, but where it wouldn't be useful to display the destination. It could be something like a residential street, or a road that wouldn't cope with large volumes of traffic. But it is still a road that we can take, and, as we were asked to take the third exit, it is the road that we want. In most cases where the destination is not shown on the sign, it is not marked on the road either.
This second sign gives local information, such as tourist attractions, which are displayed on a brown background. In our case, as we are not looking for this kind of information, it will not help us. For the rest of this video, we will not highlight these information boards.
Now we can see an advance warning triangle for an upcoming roundabout. Sometimes these show a distance to the roundabout, but as this one doesn't, we should assume that it is fairly close. Notice how the lane starts to split here. As we know that we are going right onto the roundabout, we should assume that we need to keep to the right-hand lane. Now we can see that the left-hand lane only goes left to the first exit, and it is marked for the city centre. The other lane is marked with an arrow going ahead. This doesn't mean that we can't go around the roundabout to the right from this lane, just that if you wanted to go ahead towards Tamworth and Walsall, you would need to use this lane. As we are going right, past the halfway point, we should consider indicating right as we approach. Now we can see a yellow bollard with the Keep Left sign on it. We must pass this sign on the left, in this case to prevent us from accidentally joining the roundabout from the exit road. Here we can see a turn left sign, reminding us that we must steer left onto the roundabout so that we go around it in a clockwise direction.
We have now entered the lane for Tamworth and Walsall, which we know from the earlier sign is ahead, second exit. We want to go right to the third exit, so if there is an option to, we should stay in the centre of the roundabout and enter a lane to the right-hand side of this one.
As we have now moved out of the lane for Tamworth and Walsall, and we know that our exit is the one after, we must now be in the correct lane. We shouldn't cross any further to the right, and we can cancel our indicator.
Remember, our destination is not marked on the road, but we know that our exit is the next one. The exit for Rugeley is actually the road we joined the roundabout from, so this lane must go to both our destination and back to Rugeley.
Our exit is the next one, and we need to signal our intention to leave the roundabout in good time. With the driveways on the left, consider if there is anyone around who may be confused by your signal. Make sure your speed and position convey the same message as your signal, and use common sense in unusual circumstances.
Once again, we are going to approach the Bowling Green Roundabout from the western bypass, just like we did in the previous clip. Only this time we will join the western bypass from a side road much closer to the roundabout, and we won't have the benefit of passing the direction board which shows us the layout of the roundabout. Our directions this time are to go ahead at the roundabout, taking the second exit, which is towards Tamworth. How do you think you will plan your approach without the use of a direction board?
We will need to use all information available to us, so keep an eye out for any road signs that may help. We will highlight these and put them on screen to help you understand what you should be aware of. This time we will have to be much more reliant on lane markings and the destinations painted on the road surface.
Here we can see a left turn arrow in lane 1. It doesn't show an option to go ahead from this lane. Remember, our directions were to go ahead, second exit towards Tamworth. If the left-hand lane has no option to go ahead, we can assume then that we need the right-hand lane, lane 2. When the van moves, we should be able to see road markings to confirm this. Although it's faded, we can make out Tamworth and an arrow pointing ahead. So we now know for certain that we are in the correct lane. As we haven't had to change lanes, and because we are going ahead, we do not need to indicate as we approach.
It is essential when entering a roundabout like this one that you follow the correct path, especially where there aren't any lanes marked. The correct path here is to follow the red arrow. Vehicles taking the first exit will be following this yellow path. What could happen if we steered too soon towards the left and followed this blue arrow? We can see from the road markings that we are now established in the correct lane for Tamworth, and as soon as we have passed this first exit, we know that ours is next, so we should not move into the lane on our right.
We know that other drivers don't always follow the correct lanes. What would happen if someone had used the left-hand lane to go ahead here and was now alongside us? How would we know? And what could we do if they were?
This sign means no entry, and you absolutely must not turn into this road. There are usually two signs, one either side of the road that it applies to, and often it will have the words no entry painted on the road. This then cannot possibly be our exit, so it must be the one after. If you look ahead, down your lane, it becomes obvious where you need to go.
It could be argued that you don't need to signal that you are leaving the roundabout here because your lane doesn't have an option to do anything else. You might want to consider though, whether it could benefit anybody without causing any confusion, if you did signal. As you exit this roundabout, you will go past a pedestrian crossing. Would any pedestrians know that you are coming their way? You should be okay to signal before the no entry as you are not allowed to go that way. But again, use common sense if you think it might cause confusion.
Just like in the previous two clips, we are approaching the Bowling Green from the north, along Western Bypass. Our instruction this time is to go left at the roundabout, taking the first exit towards the city centre.
As you can see, in this clip it is raining and the road surface is wet. This can make it more difficult to see road markings, especially from a distance. Because of the rain, we are unable to see the road markings for the city centre. But we were asked to go left, first exit, so we must need the left-hand lane. We just need to take our position from the curb until markings become visible.
As we look at the road layout and markings here, we can see that it is designed to bring traffic off the roundabout in a single lane, and then it opens out into 2 lanes. Both these lanes travel in the same direction, so, as long as we use our mirror to check that it's safe, we can use the right-hand lane to pass the parked cars without any traffic coming towards us. We are now going to look at joining the Bowling Green Roundabout from the direction of Lichfield city centre, near the college. Let's imagine that we have been asked to turn right at the roundabout, taking the third exit towards Rugeley. Once again, we will look for any road signs or markings that will help us.
This direction board gives us our first look at the layout of the exits from this direction. Like before, we can see that there is a road marked as no entry. We are not going to count this amongst the exits. The first available exit, to the left, is signposted for Walsall, Birmingham and Tamworth. The second exit, which could be described either as right or ahead, is not given a destination. The third exit, which is definitely to the right, is signposted for Rugeley, Ashbourne and Burton. Remember, we were asked to take the third exit, to Rugeley.
As we pause the video here, we can see that the road splits some distance before the roundabout. There are no entry signs on the right-hand side and a keep left bollard at the point of the split. This is because the left-hand side is for traffic heading towards the roundabout and the right-hand side for traffic exiting it.
Because we are going right at the roundabout, we should drift towards the centre white line as we approach the split, so that we are positioned as early as safely possible. What problems could you predict happening if you stayed left and tried to move to the right later? Imagine if you were in the left-hand lane. What will the traffic behind us in the right-hand lane be doing while we slow down for those parked cars?
Notice the timing of the right indicator. It's deliberately before we finish passing the parked cars. This informs the following drivers that we have no intention of moving into the left-hand lane when it's clear.
We now have confirmation that we are in the correct lane for Rugeley. As long as we move into the corresponding lane on the roundabout, we can follow it all the way to our exit.
Remember, we've already worked out that we are in the correct lane, so don't be tempted to move into that new lane on the right. If we leave a space as we follow the car in front, we will be able to check road markings if there's still any doubt. And don't forget to cancel your indicator if it might confuse someone into thinking you want that right-hand lane.
We are approaching the Bowling Green Roundabout from the direction of the city centre again. Only this time we will imagine that we have been asked to go right at the roundabout, taking the second exit.
It is important at roundabouts, especially those that are unusual or that we are unfamiliar with, to know where we are going as early as possible. This will help us get into the correct lane and plan our route around the roundabout, preventing difficulties later.
We must take notice of this no entry road on the roundabout. We are not allowed to take this road, so we do not count it as an exit. The first exit goes to Walsall, Birmingham and Tamworth. Our exit, the second, does not have a destination on this sign, so it is unlikely to have any painted on the road either. While we might describe it as either ahead or right, it is past the halfway point, and it is very close to the exit for Rugeley, which is definitely right, so we can assume that we will want the right-hand lane as we approach.
In order to get into the right-hand lane, we simply need to check our mirrors for safety, then stay near the center white line as we approach the point where the road splits. Because of the layout of this particular roundabout, it is unclear whether our exit is far enough around to need a right indicator here. We have decided not to indicate this time, but if we are aware of our surroundings, we would be able to decide if a signal would be beneficial another time.
We approach the roundabout in lane 2, so we are moving into lane 2 as we enter onto it. We should now be able to follow this lane all the way to our exit. As we pass the first exit, the lane we are already in moves to the left in preparation for our exit, which we know is next. As we look ahead, we should be aware of the traffic lights. Sometimes there will be vehicles queuing, as is happening behind us here, so we must always look ahead. Following vehicles may not be paying attention, so we should check on them in our mirrors and slow down gently and in good time.
In this clip, we are going to approach the Bowling Green Roundabout from the college once again. If you've already seen the previous clips, you'll be getting pretty used to the approach road by now. We'll still highlight any useful road signs and put them on screen until they are no longer relevant.
Our direction this time is to go left on the roundabout, taking the first exit towards Tamworth. Let's take a look at the direction board. We can see that as we turn onto the roundabout, we will almost immediately pass a road marked no entry. This does not count as an exit, so the first exit is actually the next one. It's signposted to go towards Walsall, Birmingham and Tamworth, and it is on the left. Remember, we were asked to go left, first exit, towards Tamworth, so anything on the roundabout, after this exit, is of little interest to us.
Look ahead to the parked cars. We want the left-hand lane, to go left at the roundabout, but we are going to need to straddle the white line to safely pass the cars. If we use our mirrors early enough, and position our car sensibly, we won't need to indicate right to pass these cars, but when should we start to indicate left for the roundabout?
Would the no entry road before our exit on the roundabout change anything about when or how we indicate? Look for the green arrow flashing on screen, which shows when we decided to indicate. We waited until it was obvious we were going to pass all the parked cars. Would you have done the same? You should speak with your instructor if you are unsure about timing of indicators.
In this next section, we will be approaching the Bowling Green Roundabout from the south, along the Friary and Friary Road. As before, we will do our best to highlight any road signs and road markings that you may find useful. We will start by going right at the roundabout, which is the third exit and is marked for the city centre.
Take note of this arrow in the centre of the road. It is a direction to stay on the left, usually before hatch markings or solid white lines. This is our first look at the direction board from this approach. We have this small stump representing an exit. Remember, this is still a usable exit, so it counts as the first one. This exit for Rugeley and Ashbourne is the second exit, and the third exit, the one we want, is for city centre. It is clearly situated on the right, so we should be prepared to use the right-hand lane as we approach the roundabout.
Here we can see the start of the hatch markings leading to a split in the road. We have no entry signs on the right-hand side of the road and a keep left bollard at the point of the split, preventing us from mistakenly taking the wrong side of the road. And now we have more no entry signs preventing us from turning right before we get to the roundabout.
Our instructions were to go right at the roundabout towards the city centre, so remember to position as early as safely possible in the right-hand lane. We can look for road markings as we approach the roundabout to confirm that we have chosen the correct lane. Would you indicate to show that you are planning to move into this lane? Would it make it easier for others to plan their own approach if you did?
This roundabout is unusual in the fact that it has a pub and a car park in its centre. If we are indicating right, we should consider briefly cancelling it so that we don't confuse anyone into thinking that we are turning into the car park. This second opening is an exit from the car park and has no entry signs from our direction, so we can reapply the indicator before passing it.
In this clip we will once again be travelling towards the Bowling Green from the south, along the Friary and Friary Road. This time we have been asked to go ahead at the roundabout, taking the second exit. It's towards Rugeley.
The first exit on this direction board is marked by this small stump. There is no information about where it goes, but it does still count as an exit. The second exit is marked for Rugeley and Ashbourne. Remember, our directions were, go ahead. Second exit, towards Rugeley. As it is directly ahead, we would expect to use the left-hand lane to approach, but check road markings when you get closer.
These traffic lights are for a pedestrian crossing and don't form part of a junction. We know this because there are zigzag markings on the road. Further on, there is another set of traffic lights. These can also be used by pedestrians, but their main purpose is to allow access to the roundabout. There are no zigzags and no give-way markings after the lights. This is the only junction on the Bowling Green Roundabout controlled by traffic lights. Once more we are heading towards the Bowling Green Roundabout, along the Friary and Friary Road. Again, we will highlight the signs that we should be looking out for to help us negotiate the roundabout successfully, as well as some other things that we haven't yet discussed in the previous clips from this direction. On this occasion we will take our instructions to be, at the roundabout go left. It's the first exit.
As usual, let's take a look at the direction board for the roundabout. By now we are familiar with this small stub representing the first exit. We know that even though the sign doesn't give any information about where this exit goes, it is still an exit that we can use. Due to its position, it might be described as either left or ahead. We were asked to go left, taking the first exit, so this is the one we want. Because we are leaving at the first exit, we don't need to read any more information on this sign.
On the road in front of us are the words "Keep Clear." We should not stop between the white lines either side of this "Keep Clear" marking. In this case, it is to keep the entrance to the junction open to traffic coming from the right. If we block it, it could cause unnecessary congestion. When traveling in slow-moving traffic, we should leave enough space between ourselves and the vehicle in front to be able to see and react to any road markings such as this one.
Remember, we are taking the first exit off the roundabout, so we want to approach in the left-hand lane. Where a single lane splits into two, and we want the left-hand lane, we just need to keep our normal position near the left-hand curb as the road widens. We must never make any last-minute, unplanned lane changes, even if we realize we are in the wrong lane.
As we enter the roundabout, we must keep our position close to the left-hand curb so that we leave room for vehicles on our right. Even though access is traffic light controlled, we will need to make sure we are not so quick that we can't maintain a good position.
Even though we are taking the first exit, we have chosen to delay our left indicator due to the unusual nature of this roundabout, with houses on the left. We should assess the situation every time, and apply our indicators in a way which doesn't cause any confusion.
We will now show some examples where we are approaching the Bowling Green Roundabout from the direction of Walsall Road. On this occasion we are going right at the roundabout, taking the third exit, which is towards Tamworth.
Let's pause the video so that we can discuss this direction board. Sometimes these boards contain a lot of information, so we need to identify our exit and its position quickly. We have already been told that we are going right, third exit, and we are looking for Tamworth. So let's start by looking at the right-hand side of the board. Once we have identified Tamworth, we can easily see that it's the last exit and it's just past halfway around, so we know that if there are lanes, we will need the one on the right as we approach. We can confirm that we are in the best position if there are more signs or road markings later. Just before our exit is a no-entry road, so we can see that ours is indeed the third exit. We don't have to read everything on the board.
This no right turn sign is to stop vehicles taking a shortcut into the junction on the right. Because we are not allowed to turn there, we can indicate right early as we approach the roundabout.
Because we are using the right-hand lane to enter the roundabout, we should move into the corresponding lane, which means moving to the center with the curb on our right. Remember, we are taking the third exit to Tamworth. As we get near to the second exit, we can see Tamworth in this right-hand lane, so this is the lane that we want. Don't move any further to the right and out of this lane. Let's look at another approach to the Bowling Green along Walsall Road, only this time our directions are, at the roundabout take the second exit on the left, towards the city centre.
We're going to pause again to look at this direction board. Our instruction was to take the second exit on the left, so we don't really need to look at the right-hand side of the sign. Also, the no entry is ahead, so we'll discount this as well. We're looking for city centre, and once we've found it, we can disregard the destinations at the previous exit. We don't have time to read everything from a moving car. Our exit is second left, so we should use the left-hand lane and delay our left indicator until we have passed the first exit.
While we wait for the traffic to clear, we must remain switched on. Remember where we are going. Left, second exit towards the city centre. We should try not to get too close to the vehicle in front, especially when they start moving. If you allow a gap to form when they move off, you will be able to see any road markings. Remember to keep left as we move on to the roundabout, but go past the first exit. What is likely to happen if we indicate too early? Remember, we can use as much of this right-hand lane as we need to pass the parked cars. It's one way in this section until the grass on the right comes to an end.
In this clip, we are going to make our third approach towards the roundabout from Walsall Road. This time we are going to go left, first exit, and it is towards Rugeley. This is perhaps the most straightforward of all the possible ways we could be asked to go, but we still need to remain alert to make sure it goes smoothly.
Due to the location of the Bowling Green Roundabout, which is close to the city centre, a college, a park, houses, and a pub, there can be a lot of pedestrian activity at times. Be alert to the crossings and plan ahead.
Let's take one final look at this now familiar direction board. We are taking the first exit towards Rugeley. We don't really need to concern ourselves with anything after the first exit.
The first exit is immediately after you join the roundabout. An appropriate speed is essential so that we keep a great position. It should be reasonably close to the left-hand curb. We may be asked to take the first road on the right once we've exited the roundabout. It's important that we check mirrors, signal, and move into this right turning lane as soon as possible.
These traffic lights are nothing to do with the junction. There are zigzags on the road, so this is a pedestrian crossing. If the lights are green, and it is safe, we should move past the crossing and wait for a suitable gap in the traffic to turn. If you take a wrong turning at any time when driving, there is absolutely no need to worry. Even on a driving test, a wrong turn is not a problem as long as your driving is safe and predictable to others. Your sat-nav may simply reroute, but it is also possible that you will be asked to turn around. In this final clip, we will show you one of the ways that your examiner or sat-nav might ask you to turn around.
Let's imagine that at this point we realize that we are in the wrong lane to go ahead at the roundabout. There is no cause for concern. We just apply a left indicator, follow the lane that we are in and wait for further directions.
Once we are committed to the exit, we may be asked to take the next right and turn back towards the roundabout.
All we need to do is check mirrors, signal, and move into the right-hand lane. As we turn, we can see two lanes, both with give way markings. That's because it is one way and we need the right-hand lane to continue back to the roundabout. Now we just choose the correct lane for our destination and carry on as normal.
Thank you for watching this video, and we hope that you found it helpful. If you are in Tamworth and you or someone you know is looking for a driving instructor, please watch to the end, or check the links in the description for contact details. LDC currently has 3 driving schools in Tamworth offering both manual and automatic lessons. They also have hundreds more around the country, so even if you are not local to us, you can still find a quality instructor.